Okay, buckle up, everybody, because we're going deep into quantum computing today.
Sounds exciting.
It is. We found this really wild article, actually, from Live Science.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about this quantum processor they made over in China, and it's making supercomputers look like, well,
Like ancient history?
pretty much. We're talking quadrillions of times faster, quadrillions.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing. It really shows how quantum computing is going from like this idea to something real. And it's happening way faster than I think anyone thought it would.
Totally. So our deep dive today is all about figuring out just how big of a deal this new processor is. It's called Zuchongzhi 3.0. What does it mean for the future of, well, pretty much everything? And where does it put China in this whole race for quantum supremacy?
Right, right. Well, I guess we should probably start by explaining what Zuchongzhi 3.0 actually is. It's a 105 qubit superconducting quantum processing unit, or QPU. That's 105 transmon qubits arranged in a 15 by 7 lattice. So picture a tiny chessboard, but instead of pieces, you have these qubits. And they use quantum mechanics to do these incredible calculations.
Okay, so it's small but mighty. The article said it finished a task in seconds that would take, what was it? Frontier, the second fastest supercomputer in the world, billions of years. Billions. So is that what quantum supremacy is?
It could be. Zuchongzhi 3.0 and Google's Willow QPU 2 have both shown they can beat normal computers on certain tasks, like one called random circuit sampling.
Yeah.
But it's tricky. This benchmark might make quantum methods look better than they are. And, those classical computing algorithms are always human proved, try to catch up.
So it's like this moving target, quantum leaps ahead, but classical computing's right behind it.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty wild. But all this talk of qubits and benchmarks, it's a lot to take in. Can we break down the tech a bit? What are these transpond qubits exactly?
So think of them like the pieces on that quantum chessboard we were talking about. They're made from materials that are superconducting, like tantalum, niobium, and aluminum. And what makes them special is that they can hold their quantum state, what we call coherence, for a pretty long time.
Okay. And why is that coherence time so important?
Well, the longer a qubit can stay coherent, the more complex the calculations it can handle. It's like if you were trying to solve this complicated math problem, but someone kept erasing your work every few seconds. That's kind of what noise does to qubits. And transmon qubits, they're designed to resist that, so they can do more intricate computations.
So it's all about making a stable environment for these qubits so they can do their thing.
Exactly.
Got it. But how do we know they're, getting the right answer? I read something about gate fidelity. Is that important?
It's super important. A quantum gate is basically like a set of instructions for how to change the qubits. Gate fidelity tells you how accurately those instructions are carried out. The higher the fidelity, the fewer errors you get. So that means more reliable computation.
So how good is Zuchongzhi 3.0 in terms of gate fidelity? Is it good?
It's really good. It has a 99.90% fidelity for single qubit gates, and for two qubit gates, 99.62%. Google's Willow is right up there, though. They hit 99.97% and 99.86%. It's a tight race.
So China and Google are going head to head.
Pretty much.
What I find interesting is this isn't just about theory. There's some serious engineering going on here, too.
Oh, absolutely. The article talked about how improvements in the way they actually build the processor have made a big difference for Zuchongzhi 3.0. For example, using tantalum and aluminum for the qubits, and then connecting them with this process called indium bump flip chip bonding. So these engineering advances, they're just as important as the theoretical leaps.
It's not just about the ideas, then. It's about making those ideas real. And that's putting China in a pretty good spot in this race for quantum supremacy.
Definitely. Those engineering breakthroughs are a big reason why China is a top contender now. And it kind of brings up this big question. What happens when quantum computing goes from like this specialized thing to something everyone uses?
That's a huge question. One we'll definitely get into in part 2 of this deep dive. But before we do, I think it's worth appreciating how far we've come. From, these abstract concepts to actual quantum processors that are already beating regular computers. It's pretty amazing.
It really is. And, we're just scratching the surface of what quantum computing could do.
Right. I can't wait to dig into that more.
Me too.
Yeah.
It really is amazing to think about how far we've come. And like you were saying, the next step is figuring out how to actually use all this quantum power, to do something real.
Yeah, to go from look how fast it is to look what it can do.
Exactly. Being able to beat regular computers in a lab is a big deal, sure. But the really exciting part is figuring out how to use this power to solve actual problems.
So what's stopping us? I mean, if these quantum computers are so fast, why aren't they curing diseases and designing, like, robots that can fold laundry?
Well, I wish it was that simple. It's a bit like if you had a Formula One race car, but you needed to build all new roads and like traffic laws before you could really see how fast it could go. We still need to figure out the software, the algorithms, that can actually run on quantum computers.
So it's a whole new kind of programming then.
Exactly. Regular computers use bits, which can be a 0 or a 1, but a qubit can be in a superposition. So it can be both 0 and 1 at the same time. That's where the power comes from. But it also means we can't just take the software we have now and use it on a quantum computer.
I see. So it's not just about the hardware, it's about finding the right instructions, the right code to unlock the potential. But once we figure that out, where could quantum computing really make a difference? We talked about things like drug discovery and materials science earlier.
Yeah, those are good examples. Take drug discovery. Imagine being able to simulate at an atomic level how different molecules interact. We could design drugs in a totally new way, develop really targeted therapies with fewer side effects and more effective treatments.
Wow. So instead of just trying things out and hoping for the best, we could see exactly how a drug would work before we even make it.
That's the idea. And in material science, we could maybe design materials with really specific properties,
Hmm.
like super strength or perfect conductivity. We could build lighter, more durable airplanes or more efficient solar panels, all kinds of things.
Okay, now we're talking about some sci-fi level stuff. But it also makes you wonder, who's going to have access to this kind of technology? And how do we stop it from being used for, well, not so good things?
You're hitting on some really important points. The potential of quantum computing is huge, but so are the potential risks. It's kind of like, splitting the atom. We need to be very careful about how we use this power.
It's a lot to think about. But before we get too existential, I'm curious, what are you most excited about with quantum computing?
Honestly, what gets me most excited is how much we don't know yet. We're talking about a technology that could change entire industries,
Yeah.
maybe even solve problems we haven't even thought of yet.
It's like discovering a whole new continent, not knowing what's out there, waiting to be found. So where do you see quantum computing going in the next 5 to 10 years?
It's hard to say for sure, but one thing's for certain. Things are going to keep moving fast. We'll probably see bigger, more stable quantum computers and new breakthroughs in how to program them. It's really a race, not just between countries, but between our ability to develop the technology and our ability to use it responsibly.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we use it and making sure it benefits everyone.
Absolutely. And I think the most important thing is that we keep talking about these issues, that we don't avoid the tough questions, because ultimately the future of quantum computing is up to all of us.
Well said. And I think that's a perfect place to move on to the final part of our deep dive. We've talked about the technology, the potential, the challenges, but what does it all mean for, well, for you?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? We've been talking about quantum computing in this big kind of, abstract way, but what about like in the next 5, 10 years? How might it actually change our lives?
That's what's so cool about it, right? It's not just a physics problem anymore. It's starting to have real effects,
Mhm.
stuff that could change things for all of us.
Like, think back to those things we were talking about. Personalized medicine, for example.
Mm.
What if going to the doctor meant like getting a diagnosis based on some quantum AI that could analyze your whole genetic makeup in just minutes? Yeah, that's a real possibility. And it's not just about diagnosis either. Imagine treatments that are designed just for you based on your genes. So fewer side effects, and they actually work better.
That would be a huge change. What about our everyday tech? Will we be carrying around quantum smartphones?
I mean, it's not just about speed. Quantum computers are really good at certain types of calculations, like optimizing things or running simulations. That could lead to some crazy powerful devices.
So like a virtual assistant that actually gets what you need before you even ask.
Exactly. Or imagine traffic apps that can predict traffic jams and route you around them, in real time. Less time in the car and better for the environment, too.
Right.
Quantum computing could change so much, from the little things to the really big stuff.
It's almost like this technology is showing us what we're capable of, the good and the bad. We could solve some of the biggest problems we face. But we also have to be really careful, make sure it's used for good.
Right, exactly. It's a powerful tool, and we need to think carefully about how we use it. We need to stay informed about how it's developing and be a part of the conversation about what it all means.
I think that's the big takeaway from our deep dive. Quantum computing isn't just this, weird science thing anymore. It's changing our future, whether we're ready or not.
It's a wake-up call, in a way. We need to learn about it, ask questions, and help shape it so that it benefits everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This has been an amazing look into the world of quantum computing, and I hope you found it as interesting as I have. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.